So basically, how do the government facilitate the process of transition from the informal economy into the formal economy? That's one of the aspects that you think we in the government we should be quite keen to do about that, right?
Yes, it is of course important to have as much of the informal economy turn into a formal economy because it's safer, it's more transparent, it provides a better basis for business, and I think authorities need to find, the sort of win-win situation where the entrepreneurs, however small, have something to gain from moving into the formal world rather than stay in the informal world.
We just, the government for this new mandate, and you met with the Prime Minister this morning, we have launched our next 5-year, we call the rectangular strategy.
Rectangular strategy,
yeah, and the theme of this third rectangular strategy is growth, equity,
governance,
governance, efficiency of the government,
human resources,
human resource on the top of it. We're going to start, drafting the industrial policy where we're going to consider quite a bit on how do we motivate the entrepreneur, the SME, to be part of the process, so that they can benefit from the forward linkage or backward linkage with the big company that will come to Cambodia. Of course, it's a plan, right? It's a plan, but I think at the end of the day, it's all how do we translate into concrete, practical, implementable thing. What's your view on that? Yeah, so I think here it's definitely linked to inclusive growth.
Sure.
But it's much more sort of like nitty-gritty of it,
you have to look at the process.
Yes.
You have to look at the substance.
Yes.
In terms of process, my recommendation, and based not only on the IMF experience, but also on my personal experience as Minister of Finance, is, again, include the entrepreneurs, include the small business owners, include the female entrepreneurs, and find out from them what they expect and how they believe that they can thrive, they can develop the business, they can invest better, they can hire new people. They will know better.
Yes.
So in the process through which the rectangular is put in place, include the people, those that are directly concerned. In terms of substance, I bet you it's going to boil down to simplification, remove the red tape, be transparent. We would like certainty, and we want skilled labor.
Yes.
I'm sure you will hear those things.
Yes.
And the good cooperation between the private sector and the public sector is precisely to find where everybody fits in order to deliver.
Yes. So, that's a lot to absorb in a short time. But anyway, we're running out of time, and I thought maybe I ask you, what's your impression after spending a few days in Cambodia? From Washington, reading all the report on Cambodia, on the field, on the ground, and what's your last word for the audience?
Cambodia is very attractive, and I have found all the Cambodian people that I've met so far true, genuine, authentic, and kind people, hardworking as well.
Well, thank you so much, Madame Lagarde. It's such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you.
And enjoy your stay.
Thank you.
Yes. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Cambodia Global Dialogue. However, this is a special interview with a special guest from Washington, Her Excellency Madame Christine Lagarde, who is the Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund that we used to call the IMF. She's on a state visit, and we had the honor to have her on our special interview for a short time. And we hope to have a good discussion with her on issues relating to the global economic situation. And of course, from there, we'll try to see how we can get some lesson learned from her as it pertains to the regional economic integration in ASEAN. And I hope that we also have an opportunity to listen to a few of her recommendations as pertain to Cambodia economic development, how we're doing, and what are the programs that the IMF is doing in Cambodia. And at the end, I would want to touch on the issue on the role of the youth in the context of developing Cambodia. But if there's enough time, I would definitely want to hear her recommendation, how she sees what the royal government of Cambodia could do in terms of bringing inclusive growth for this country. Madame Lagarde, welcome to Cambodia. I'm so glad that you have the opportunity to finally visit Cambodia. You have, from the schedule, very busy. You met the Prime Minister. Tomorrow you're going to meet His Majesty the King. Wow, that's quite an exciting time. But I don't want to miss the opportunity to capture some of your wisdom. And perhaps you can help us a bit, in the context. Recently, we're a little bit worried what's happening in the U.S., in Europe, China, Japan, all this global development, U.S. government shutdown. What do you see this global risk and how it does affect the global economy?
Well, let me first of all say that I'm really overjoyed to be finally in Cambodia. It's an old dream come true, and a year ago I was hoping to come. I could not make it at the time of the ASEAN summit, but I'm even happier to be here this time because it's only for Cambodia.
Yes, indeed.
And it's been so far a really, really fascinating visit, diving into the past of Cambodia,
yes,
looking at the most recent tragedy, and now also really sharing my views with the views of entrepreneurs, the views of the authorities,
yes,
including your Prime Minister.
Yes.
So you asked me about the international situation,
the outlook,
the global
yeah,
economy,
yes,
and the outlook.
Yes, yes.
We are seeing a changing picture at the
yes,
moment, with growth, being relatively slow.
Mm-hmm.
Not even at 3% this year, and we forecast at 3.5% next year.
Oh,
so slightly better,
yeah,
improving, but with a different dynamics.
Yes, yes.
We are seeing the advanced economies picking up a bit,
all right,
finally, and we are seeing some of the emerging market economies that were driving growth slowing down.
China, India,
Brazil? Russia, Brazil, China to a lesser extent. So this is quite an interesting phenomenon. With the large advanced economies picking up, the US is going to deliver, growth at about 1.6% this year, probably 2.6% next year.
Yes.
Europe turning the corner at last,
yeah,
providing, positive growth next year. Japan improving significantly with this very innovative set of new policies, and the low-income countries,
I see,
still holding strongly and having resisted the crisis, including the latest trepidations about the tapering of unconventional monetary policy,
yes, indeed,
stronger than the emerging market economies. So that's the picture as we see it. There is one very concerning matter which does not affect Cambodia so much.
I see.
And that is unemployment across the world, particularly in advanced economies. We have about 220 million people looking for jobs at the moment, and the economic growth at about 3%, and particularly in the advanced economies, is not enough to respond to the needs
Yes.
of particularly the young people joining the workforce.
And the impact could be, what could be the likely impact of that if employment are not resolved?
Well, it varies depending on the demographics and the evolution of the working population. But you have countries in Southern Europe, countries in North Africa, the Arab countries in transition, that are really suffering as a result of the young population not integrating the job market. So the risk of instability is there and needs to be addressed by the best possible response to create jobs, and that is growth.
You know, Cambodia, I mean, I'm jumping a bit here but because we're dollarized economy, and whenever something's happened in the U.S., particularly the recent U.S. government shutdown a bit, it caused a lot of worry in our case. And does that, you know, affect the confidence in growth in a developing country, the fact that you have this issue in the U.S.?
First of all, any uncertainty, wherever, hurts the economy. Because economic agents like certainty.
Yes, indeed.
So when you have issues about the debt ceiling, about the fiscal cliff, about the long-term trends of fiscal policies, it creates uncertainty. So it's not good for the economy. If you add to that the hint of tapering of the unconventional monetary policy, then that creates uncertainty around the world. And people who have invested, who have moved capital to particularly the emerging market economies in search of high yield, begin to worry. So they remove capital to relocate to safer places where they think that the long-term interests will rise. And that's what we've seen in the summer of 2013. It has tampered a bit, but it will come back, and we need to be prepared for that.
In our region, in the ASEAN, the IMF is doing a lot of work in this part of the world, and perhaps you can share a bit how do you see the region and what's the engagement of the IMF here?
Well, first of all, I would say that Asia at large, but Southeast Asia in particular, are very vibrant segments of the global economy. And the developing Asia is, you know, one of the most vibrant, active, fastest growing economies in the world, together with some African countries. So vibrant, growing, and with clearly big projects on the horizon. When you look at, you know, the ASEAN economic integration, when you look at the Chiang Mai arrangement, those are very ambitious regional projects. And we at the IMF support those projects. We are prepared to help whenever we can. We cooperate, and we do that in multiple ways. If I take the example of Cambodia, for instance, we provide a lot of technical assistance. We have 3 people from the IMF who are present on site at the Ministry of Finance, at the Central Bank of Cambodia. We provide training, we provide technical assistance, we provide scholarships, and we try to assist in good, sound public finance management, in good, solid governance. And we try to partner as much as we can with the authorities.
You say the word partner. You know, I must say that at least from the perspective of our government, we look at the IMF as a big partner. In fact, we have taken a lot of your recommendation over the years, and I must say we're doing fine.
You're not doing badly, actually. That's true.
Doing fine. But, you know, now Lagarde, I think in the context of ASEAN, you know, we are less than, you know, 2-3 years away from the ASEAN economic integration. And it's a bit, a lot of excitement, there's a lot of uncertainty also, because not everybody is, I think they're more fearful of the unknown than anything. But for me, I look, as part of ASEAN, we are the latest comer, but we are we're more aggressive because, accession to WTO thing, Mr. Pascal Lamy helping Cambodia. So I think we're doing fine in that sense. But I still feel that the ASEAN 10, the challenge is how do you reduce the development gap, right? Because if you're going to have this economic benefit, it has to filter a bit to everybody. What's your wisdom on that one? What's your view?
From the study that we do, it is clear that the most sustainable growth is inclusive growth.
Inclusive growth.
And what I mean by inclusive is twofold. One is including as many people as possible from the population. That means young people, women, entrepreneurs. Everybody has to benefit from that movement. Number two, inclusive in the sense that it has to be part of the regional movement, the regional integration. And that can only be gained as a result of improved productivity, improved education, and it's a long-term project. It's not something that happens overnight. And,
but we have to be conscious that should be a constant, continuous
process.
That's
right. It has to be a momentum that is sustained in time. And when you invest in a child, you just have to keep at it. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not a one-year job. It's a long-term project. But it's good to start now.
No, I think for ASEAN, I must say, they're quite bold in vision. And, with all this meeting, like we have over 1,000 meetings a year.
My goodness.
It's a lot. But one thing that I find that last year when we had the summit, the biggest effect was more on the population. A lot of people complain, Cambodia is the least developed country. You spend a lot of money for all this big summit gala and everything. But I say, look, there are time to spend the money. But had it not been for the summit where everybody's coming in, President Obama, everybody's coming in, people see, oh my God, so that's what ASEAN is all about. So the effect on the local population it's very strong. And that's when I start to see the emergence or the concern of the young entrepreneur. And since we never look back, now they get organized, everything. That lead me to the point of the youth. You mentioned inclusive growth, right? It's clear. The young population, Cambodia is a reverse pyramid in terms of age, right? What would be your advice for us, for the Cambodian youth? What they should think from them, and for the government also, what we should do in terms of policy, and for the entrepreneur as a whole, in the context of this larger economic integration.
I tend to think in terms of purpose. And you think in terms of audience. You think about your audience. I think about the purpose. For the young people, I would say education, 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 education. The Cambodian young people are the richness and the wealth of the country. But they have to be educated and they have to be able to contribute to the wealth of the nation. So that would be my first and foremost recommendation.
So invest in
education. This is the best shared assets because it's never depleted, no matter how much you share it. On the entrepreneurs, I would say, particularly for the authorities, simplify the investment environment.
The doing business, you mean?
Make it as transparent, as easy to use as possible, because that's what is going to drive the investment, not just the investment of the big players, but the small players' investment that will one day turn into medium-sized and eventually large-size enterprises from Cambodia. And there is plenty of talent. I've met a group of women from Cambodia, some of them entrepreneurs, some of them in the design industry, some of them in other developing industries. And it's impressive.
Yes.